One quick heads up, this is going to be an episode that may have some spoilers. I make no apologies for being a committed Marvel fan. That said, Disney and Marvel have been in a slump for a while now, ever since Endgame, but fear not, the merc with a mouth and Hugh Jackman's most iconic character ever are here to save the day. Today, we're talking about the 2024 global hit movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's talk for a minute. First, let's start with the score. The score for this one is a 7.5 out of 10. Deadpool and Wolverine was released on July 26 and was directed by Shawn Levy, who had previously worked with Ryan Reynolds on Free Guy and The Atom Project. Levy also directed Hugh Jackman in the 2011 movie Real Steel. The script for Deadpool and Wolverine comes from the original Deadpool movie writers Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, along with Reynolds and Levy. Producers include the legendary Lauren Shuler Donner from the original 20th Century Fox Studios when she made all the X-Men movies, Ryan Reynolds, and Shawn Levy as well. The movie's score was composed by Rob Simonson, known for his work on the recent Ghostbuster movies, and coincidentally also scored It Ends With Us, starring Blake Lively, who besides being a kick-ass actor and producer, is also Ryan Reynolds' wife. She also makes a not-so-obvious appearance in the movie too. Deadpool and Wolverine had a budget of $200 million, and as of this recording, it has a global box office of $1 billion. Half of that, impressively, from the domestic box office alone. The runtime of this movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes, which I am always grateful for a reasonable movie running time. Thank you, Shawn Levy, Ryan Reynolds, and Disney for making sure of that. This is the first Deadpool movie where our favorite anti-hero is part of Disney after Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, now known as 20th Century Studios. And Reynolds and Deadpool and this entire movie let you know that this is the first time that he is actually part of the MCU. Filming for this movie started in May of 2023, but like many films in 2023, was plagued with being shut down due to the writers and actors strikes in the summer, and finally resumed filming in November after both strikes had ended, with production wrapping up in January 2024. Now let's talk impact. This movie has single-handedly saved the MCU and Disney from its rut. Deadpool and Wolverine is already the second highest grossing movie of 2024, surpassed only by another Disney film, Inside Out 2, which currently has a global box office of $1.5 billion. To kick off the pros for this movie, let me just say that Reynolds and Jackman's chemistry is great. The cast of this movie was out of this world awesome. The awesome cameos truly served this movie. You have, first of all, Wesley Snipes seeing you back as Blade. Amazing. And I am so grateful that Ryan Reynolds not only includes you in this film, but also that he's pushing for you to have a final send-off movie in the style of something like Logan. That would be incredible. I am there for it. And then having Jennifer Garner back as Elektra. You know, I know people mocked this character, but I think that was because of the really bad Daredevil movie back in 2003 with Ben Affleck. I don't actually blame Affleck. I don't blame Garner. I think the writing, the direction, it wasn't there. Comic book movies weren't really up to this kind of standard yet. And I think with the right director, the right writing, and Jennifer Garner herself is just a badass. She can do anything. I mean, if you haven't seen Alias, watch that series. And then if you want a really good movie with her too, check out The Kingdom. And then, of course, you cannot leave out Channing Tatum as Gambit. I don't care if maybe this was a parody or not, but he looks the part. Seeing the Gambit costume, the electrified cards, just so cool. It brought back all these memories from my childhood and watching the X-Men and the X-Men comics. I hope he does get a chance to make his own Gambit movie. But for the cast, it is Jackman in particular who really deserves the shout out here. He does it all in this movie. Comedy, dramatic moments. There isn't anything this guy can't do. And I'm also going to include a shout out to Emma Corrin, who plays a really fun baddie in this movie. And I'm telling you, when you have a movie like this, where you have, again, the good guys and bad guys, your movie is only as strong as your villain. I know you've heard me say that many times, but I stand by it. If you don't have a fun villain, a well thought out villain, a kind of fully fleshed out villain, it's going to make for a shitty movie. In this case, Corrin nails it, and alongside with Reynolds' hilarious writing, you just had some really great stuff here with this character. The other part that makes this movie really enjoyable is that maybe you don't realize it right away when you're watching it, but this is a buddy cop movie. It is that formula of that kind of story. It works really well here, and the movie, as expected, is very meta, very very self-deprecating, funny, and yes, extremely violent. But again, it's a Deadpool movie. I did leave out actually one other fun cameo that I do want to mention. Chris Evans, whenever he is willing to do a cameo in a movie, he is such a great sport. He is really funny and he has a great part in this movie. And stay for the end credits because it's a very funny part that kind of caps the whole thing off. Now, I know a big moment that probably got a lot of cheers from people in the theater or when the cameos happened, but that wasn't the case for my screening. The case for my screening, and definitely the biggest reaction from me, was the moment that the Wolverine cowl is pulled on and you see that for the first time. Holy shit. Such a great, amazing moment. I was cheering when watching it. All right, and now we're at the cons. What didn't work for the movie? I don't like it when movies overuse or abuse either the multiverse or time travel as a plot device. I know I've mentioned this before. I always come back to wondering, why do I care if this plot device is used, making the stakes not matter at all? It's like playing a computer or console game with unlimited lives and do-overs. However, this story is rolled out in a way that is enjoyable and has me focusing on and caring about that a lot less than I usually do. That annoyance isn't gone, but it's far less noticeable in this movie. Before I watched this movie, like right before I went into the theater watching it, a friend messaged me and asked, well, is this a movie that I could enjoy if I haven't seen the other Deadpool movies before? Shout out to you, Kristen. You know, I said, yeah, sure, it'd be fine. It's no problem. I was completely wrong. Let me be clear. You will be absolutely lost if you don't know the world of the previous Deadpool movies and even some of the Marvel shows on Disney+, like all the stuff with the Time Variance Authority, the TVA. If you don't know what that is, then that is exactly my point, and that's from the Disney Plus series Loki. Or if you haven't seen the X-Men movies when 20th Century Fox existed. Another issue, and this became kind of one for me within 10 minutes of the movie, if Deadpool-style comedy, and not even Deadpool-style comedy, I should really specify it to Ryan Reynolds-style comedy isn't your thing, this movie and some of its humor, just some, gets old really quick. Also, the dog pool and the other Deadpools, some of the other Deadpools, just didn't land for me and just kind of became annoying after a while. Another thing that kind of bothered me in this movie was the talents of actor Matthew McFadden were not used properly because he is used as a second villain in this film, and the villain is not that interesting, not fully fleshed out, and just kind of an annoyance in the movie. I wish that actually the plot had been developed to focus more on Emma Corrin as the only baddie in this movie, and having these two villains both in the movie, it just kind of weakened the whole story. And then last but not least, there is some undercooked CGI that is also a little bit distracting. But again, after movies like The Flash and everything that we know about the Spider-Man Across the Universe movies, we know how thin the visual effects community has been spread these last few years, so this is really not that surprising. Unfortunately, it still doesn't make some of the bad visual effects work stand out any less in this movie. With all of that being said though, overall, it's really difficult not to have had a great time at the movies with this particular film. It's an awesome job by everyone all around. I stand by the 7.5 out of 10 rating. Deadpool and Wolverine is playing in theaters now, and I wouldn't even be surprised if it remains in theaters longer than usual before making its way to being able to rent and buy on all platforms, and ultimately being available to stream on Disney+. Summer movies are back in a big way thanks to movies like this. One last quick note, if you enjoyed this, please be sure to leave a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you enjoy your podcasts. It helps the program a lot. Thank you for listening.